day's journey, and I'm glad, so glad about it. You know I'm glad, so glad about it. Oh yes, you know I'm glad, so glad about it. It's another day's journey, and I'm glad, so glad about it. I'm so glad, I'm so glad to be alive. Oh, it has been a long day's journey, and I'm so glad about it. Just like I'm so glad that you are here for the culmination of our 10-month-long project. Remember and Reimagine, where we have used Negro Spirituals in our ukulele curriculum, as well as for the body of an ensemble repertoire for RRUE. Remember and Reimagine Ukulele Ensemble. I'm so glad that you were here for this great, great evening of music and stories. There is a Negro spiritual, Lord, How Come We Here? Marian Anderson has recorded a very poignant recording of this song. I think it's an appropriate question to ask right now at this point. How have we come to this place where we have spent the last 10 months learning how to play the ukulele and then bringing to life my arrangements of these Negro spirituals? Hats off to my sister musicians who have worked so hard as part of this ensemble to come to this place. We have come here because of the importance of Negro spirituals. And just a note on naming, you will hear us refer to this music as African American spirituals, and certainly in my grant proposal and in my PR material, I spoke of this music as such. But giving credit to the living aspect, the fluid movement of this music, over the past 3 weeks, I've had a conversation with myself, a rekindled conversation actually, about how appropriate it is and necessary for us to correctly call these spirituals Negro instead of African American. So you will hear us refer to African American spirituals, but know that we have not yet had a chance as an ensemble to flesh this out and for me to share just how I've come to understand that Negro spirituals is appropriate because it locates this music. It provides a framework for us, which helps us even more remember the origins of this music, the importance of this music, how it was a tool for survival and thriving, and for us to reimagine how this incredible music can point us towards, even today, places of freedom and liberation and justice, celebration and joy and happiness and peace and comfort. All of these things come out of this music. And as we remember and reimagine them, I think it's important for us to acknowledge just our ancestors who made this music possible. I also want to share a little bit about my origins and how I came to ukulele and how this sound box with 4 strings changed my life. In 2016, I discovered that I could enjoy music again when I searched and discovered that this ukulele was supposed to be one of the easiest things to pick up and play. I like to say it's the most accessible. It is accessible, but mastering this, and perhaps that's not even the right word, really coming into communion and conversation and negotiating the instrument takes a lifetime. But for adults who want to get back into music, I certainly believe this is an incredible vehicle. I started playing in 2016, and within the first few months, I had composed this piece called Kansas. I still couldn't write it down. I had no way of understanding how to use music notation software. That will come much later. But I understood that this was a very powerful instrument and wanted to share it. So after a few years of playing in 2019, I started teaching. I had some musical education as a child, playing the piano, learning theory. So some of the key concepts weren't new to me, but what was new was playing a fretted instrument. And I never looked back. And I've come to understand that my role as a teacher, as a facilitator, as someone who finds space with music and spirituality, that the ukulele is a perfect companion for me with the work I'm doing in the world today. That's just a bit of my story, and you're going to hear a lot of stories tonight. Stories from our ensemble members who talk about how they have come to appreciate this instrument, appreciate Negro spirituals, and just what this experience means to them. Let's listen in on a couple of those stories now.
My name is Judy Koons. I live in Cocoa Beach, Florida, with my spouse, Ellen, and I am a beginner when it comes to musical instruments. My first attempt was in 6th grade when we each picked an instrument to play, and I picked the trombone, which wasn't a great choice for a little kid in Massachusetts dragging this huge instrument through the snow. I got as far as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and that was it. Many years later, I was fortunate to teach at the University of Mississippi, and they had jam sessions on porches of cabins, and I became the washboard player. I was much more suited to washboard than to trombone, and I loved the washboard. But it was only for a season. And then many, many more years later, I retired, and on my bucket list was learning to play the ukulele. So my spouse bought me this ukulele, this lovely ukulele, and I plunked around on it, put it back on the shelf, tried to teach myself. And it was very helpful during these past 5 years. The song that I played was Let It Be. In times of trouble, Mother Mary came to me singing words of wisdom. Let it be. And now this latest iteration is indeed the world where a whole world of musicianship opened up.
My name is Chadra Pittman. I am a native of the Bronx, New York. Lived in Hampton, Virginia for 17 years before moving to Madison, Alabama, which is where I currently reside. My experience with the ukulele, I would say I am a novice, absolutely. I began taking classes last year with Angela during the pandemic. I took 2 series of classes with her, and then when I saw that she was creating this ensemble, I was immediately intrigued by it. My experience, my musical experience, I started taking piano lessons as a girl with my sister. We took piano in theory on Saturday mornings at the Bronx House for years. From that, I played the violin in high school. I've always loved the string instruments. And over the last, I'd probably say 10 years, I've been playing the shakere and the doon drums. So I play traditional African instruments.
And now for our first selection and my first arrangement of Negro Spirituals, Michael rowed the boat ashore.
Hi, my name is Judy Graboyes. I live in Walnut Creek, California, and I have been playing in various bands since 1978. I play all the Latin percussion instruments, and then I moved on to drum set, and then I dabbled with the electric bass for a while, and then I got serious around 2013 with the electric bass. So I have, off and on a lot of experience playing in bands.
I'm Maggie Mackenzie. I live in Portland, Oregon, and I studied piano as a child. I got dropped by my piano teacher because I didn't practice, and it didn't really stick because it was reading music. I didn't learn to hear. And then years later, I took up the guitar. I played folk music. I played in a contra dance band, which was really fun. But still, it was just learning chords, and I didn't understand any of the structure of music. So I really appreciated being in this ensemble, which is about learning music.
My name is Edith Biggers. I'm the secretary of ZAMI NOBLA and live in Atlanta, Georgia. I took Angela's 6-week beginning ukulele class and subsequently joined her ukulele ensemble because I wanted to learn ukulele tablature, which is the translation of music on the staff to the strings of the ukulele. I wanted to play African American spirituals that Angela Davis arranged specifically for the ukulele. This is seminal work, never having been done before, and I wanted to honor both her efforts and the beauty of the music. I've had extensive musical training before studying the ukulele. I started playing the flute at age 7 and played in bands in elementary and high school. Then I started piano in high school and continued playing throughout college. In fact, I was a music major at Smith College. After college, I played the piano off and on, but not consistently. A few months before the pandemic, I started learning the violin at the Community Music School of Atlanta. Of the 3 African American spirituals that we learned, Michael Row the Boat Ashore, Wade in the Water, and Every Time I Feel the Spirit, my favorite was Every Time I Feel the Spirit. It was the most challenging for me, rhythmically and musically. I enjoyed the richness and versatility of the pentatonic scale, which is the basis of all African American spirituals, and am amazed that even with all of the training that I've had in music and all of the study that I've had of Western American music, that the beauty, importance, and richness of the African American spirituals was omitted from all of my studies. It was only in studying with Angela that I started learning about this rich and beautiful music, and I thank her for this.
As you can see, our sister musicians come to us with a variety of levels of musical experience. What is common, though, is that they all are very new or a beginner to the ukulele. And there is great joy in seeing them grow over the past few months. It's been quite a joy. They have taken these pieces to heart, and when I've pushed them further, they've taken the challenge on. And it's been quite a joy as a teacher, where I've learned so much from them and appreciate their presence in this ensemble. Some notes about the work you will hear next. Every Time I Feel the Spirit is the heartbeat of these arrangements, literally. We start out with these staccato quarter notes and we end with them as a reminder of the quickening of life. And we move when the Spirit says move. We get excited, and when we hear the Spirit in our lives, we pray. We get into a position of meditation and thoughtfulness and reflection because we know life is presenting us with an opportunity. And we move to it, we respond to it every time we feel the Spirit. So there's this heartbeat. So I encourage the ensemble to really feel the heartbeat, get the pulse of it, with both pomp and circumstance in that beat, but really feel the quickening of it, the quickening of spirit. And this is one way that we began really reimagining the music and thinking about how it means for us today, especially during this pandemic, when opportunities come to seize them mindfully, prayerfully, thinking, oh my goodness, what do I need to do at this moment? And understanding just the value of every heartbeat and the preciousness of every moment of life. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray, I will be mindful, I will be reflective, because I know something is on the horizon. Something is in the air. Something is being imagined in my life.
I would say my favorite song thus far is Every Time I Feel the Spirit. You know, when you think about why these songs were created and why African Americans held on to these songs. I mean, they sang these songs in church. They sang these songs during slavery. They sang these songs at times of joy, at times of loss, at times of pain. And so to think about that, and Angela has mentioned that to us as we're playing, you know, it's beyond the chords and the strings and the music. It's about connecting with the song, connecting with the words, connecting with the history that's connected to the people who sang the songs.
Hey, Nish. What's that? Just give me a shout there. And a shout when you can there. I think it's all right. Love you. Much love. Bye-bye.
Another day journey, and I'm glad about it. I'm so glad to be alive. Woke me up this morning. I'm glad about it.
One of the great honors of my life was when I spent the last few weeks of my father's life with him. I would sit by his bed we would sing, pray, and I play ukulele, and I would practice my instrument. I'd say, Dad, if it's too much or if I'm too loud, is this okay? And he said, no. He said, play as much as you want, and you don't have to be quiet. So he enjoyed the music. He enjoyed the ukulele I bought him. And every time I would come in the living room when he was in better days, he would bring out his and he would play with me. So there is joy with this music, and there's joy with this arrangement of this little light of mine, which I arranged for my father because he had and has such a beautiful light that he shared with me that has provided such direct illumination for my path. So we have this little light of mine with a smaller number of ensemble members, as it was the last piece I arranged and asked for individuals who wanted to take on an extra challenge to do so. So I'm grateful for them rising to the occasion and celebrating my dad with me, with this little light of mine. Every time I think about that song, This Little Light of Mine, I think about what Bernice Johnson Reagan, probably most known for her founding the ensemble Sweet Honey in the Rock, said about this song. She said, when you sing it, you have to understand that the I is we, and that there's a very real communal aspect of bringing your light to community. And I have so appreciated that idea behind it, that it's not just my light, it's our light when we choose to let it shine. So I often say when I sing this song and people sing it with me, remember, you made a contract with the universe that you're going to let your light shine, that you're going to be a part of bringing illumination to the world. And to me, sharing the gift of music, the gift of ukulele, is just one way of bringing more light to the world. Let your light shine, shine, shine.
Hi, I'm VanDerslice, and I'm from and live in San Francisco, California. My ukulele journey started when my mom asked me one day to take her to a ukulele jam as a Saturday outing. I must say I was a bit reluctant at the time. I didn't think it was my thing, but I took her and we had a blast. So much so that we went to many ukulele jams together over the next couple of years. And now I look back and feel like that's a memory I have of something I shared with my mom that was very special to me. Especially now that I've begun to learn how to play the ukulele. I've only been playing for a year, and I started last fall when I discovered ZAMI, NOBLA, and Angela's online ukulele class for beginners in the midst of the pandemic when we were mostly hiding under our beds. And here was a perfect opportunity to step out of there and learn something new. I do play a few other instruments, but none of them super well. But I learned piano as a child and then came back to it as an adult and would play weekly with a friend of mine who was a beginner harpist, and we had a lot of fun with that. I also learned how to play the flute in high school because I was obligated to be in the marching band, but I never could march and play simultaneously. So that wasn't an experience that went really well. I took up the guitar as a teenager because everybody was playing the guitar and we could strum and sing loudly all kinds of protest songs and folk songs. And it was a great experience in and of itself. I haven't played much as an adult, however. More recently, I learned how to play the zampoña, or Peruvian panpipes, and had a great opportunity of playing at San Francisco Carnival one year, and it was my first group experience playing with other musicians, and I sure hope we get to reconvene that at some point too. But for now, I am over the moon, inspired, committed, and excited about what I've learned so far in one short year on the ukulele and how much there is in front of me that I still can learn.
Aren't these stories rich? These sister musicians talking about their joy for music and learning these Negro spirituals and how it has made a difference in their lives. One of the most difficult pieces in terms of the rhythmic quality and the length of the piece certainly has been Wade in the Water. It's one of my favorite arrangements and also a favorite arrangement of several of the ensemble members. I love it because there is this sense of calm and chaos that I was trying to imagine in this piece of coming to the banks of a river and wading into it, not necessarily knowing what was next, and the chaos of that moment, and then the resolution. I told the ensemble members that as we think about this particular spiritual, we know that it is tied to advice given to enslaved people who were seeking freedom. That when the hounds are on your trail, get to the river, get to the water, throw off the scent so you can make safe passage to your place of freedom, the long journey to freedom. And as we reimagine that, I challenge them to think that some of this process, certainly playing ukulele, was new to them. And not to be afraid of the journey, but to step into it. And in the moments of chaos, in the moments of conflict, in the moments of challenge, be encouraged by a past of people and their own stories of how they had to negotiate troubling waters, and knowing that there would be resolution on the end if they only kept course. This was where we really began to see this idea of remember and reimagine come to life. Wade in the water.
My name is Liz Hendrickson. I live in Oakland, California. I learned to play violin in the California public schools as a child. So I knew how to read music, and I was familiar with music. I had never played a fretted instrument, a guitar or a ukulele. And one of the things I was delighted to find is that ukulele music is very easy to read. With the tablature, you know exactly which string to use and which fret to put your fingers on. So that was quite a revelation for me.
I have truly loved each and every song that we have learned to play for this ensemble project, particularly because of Angela's heart-written, beautiful arrangements that she's provided to us to play. However, one of my favorite songs is Wade in the Water. I had heard Sweet Honey in the Rock sing Wade in the Water many years ago and remembered this and went back to listen to it again many times over as we've been learning the piece ourselves. As I always am when I hear them, I'm struck by how, though they don't use instruments, they create the same idea of each separate sound that's different, creating a larger, complex sound of the many parts coming together, which was exactly what I was experiencing with learning the African American spiritual arrangements. All of the parts from each ensemble member coming together to create a unique and powerful sound for a very old and dear song. Mostly, I not only learned the songs and learned about the songs, but I learned how to feel the songs. And feeling these songs is what brought the spirituality close to me and what made me want to know more about them. The songs themselves drove me with the perseverance, the encouragement, and the love that I believe they were meant to convey all along.
I think my favorite song in the 3 songs is Wade in the Water, because it gives me a look 170 years ago, just this vision and visceral experience of 170 years ago of Harriet Tubman scouting out what's happening, the safety of the people she's leading, and then being within earshot of the folks and singing a song, and they know what they need to do: get into the river. That's amazing, to be able to have the sounds and the words and the meanings and imagine what people were feeling, what they were escaping, and what they aspired to.
Each of these songs, each of Angela's arrangements, is amazing in its own right. I have to say, though, that Wade in the Water has special significance. It is loaded. It is so challenging to play. It is born of struggle, and it gives voice to that struggle. Harkens back to 200 years ago of slaves escaping those inhumane conditions in treacherous water, falling down and getting up and keeping going. And that's the outer conversation. For me, there was an inner conversation, I think, with a lot of musicians, budding musicians. There is that inner conversation. And for me, it raised issues of my white privilege. Was I deserving to play this song? Was it blasphemy for me to play this song? Because this is a holy song. So what I felt was, I was struggling. I was falling down. But in so doing, I also felt that I was being baptized over and over and over again as I got up and continued forward.
I'm including this little clip of this message I sent to our ensemble members because when I sent it out in May, it was a real point, a landmark for me to understand just what it meant for me to be a ukulele teacher and how I've come to really understand some of the key monuments, so to speak, of teaching. Good morning, sister musicians. I hope you are experiencing some morning glory. I am. And I just revel in the fact that when I can get up early and get to my office and do some music stuff, practicing or looking into theory or getting things ready for you all, it's just a great morning. I sent an email out this morning to Judy K. And in it, I included partly a reference to a quote by Michelangelo. And it is his quote, "I saw the angel in the marble, and I worked and I carved until I set him free. I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved until I set him free." I first read this quote when I was a college student majoring in art, and it just was so explosive. I loved it. I love what he was saying. I love the vision and the voice of that pursuit of seeing something and working until you can bring it to life. I think the same is true in any other practice we give ourselves to, especially if it's a creative practice. To having a vision of seeing something and working until you see that thing brought to life. That's what we're doing here with our musicianship, is really seeing these African American spirituals, feeling them, embodying them, and bringing them to life as we reimagine them for this instrument, for our times, for ourselves. And I just want to encourage you, because this is a practice. Music making is a practice where you're committing yourself to the vision of seeing something and working until you carve it out. I want to also share with you some of the things that our ensemble members have learned in addition to the discipline of practice. I think you'll find their comments to be quite revealing and helpful for those of you who are committed to this life of musicianship.
The thing I enjoyed most about this class was the community of sister musicians. People from every corner of the country came together, and getting to know people and feeling the support of my sister students was really wonderful. The most important thing I learned was how to practice. I learned to trust my hands and the muscle memory of my body, that if I spent just minutes a day going slowly over a new piece, my fingers would remember from one day to the next where to go and what to do. This was a revelation to me, and it's brought a great deal of ease to my learning to play music.
One of the greatest things that I have learned by participating in the ukulele ensemble and learning African American spirituals is the importance of daily practice and discipline. Discipline is the operative word. Angela expected a high caliber of musicianship from each of us, from each participant. At the beginning, Angela impressed upon us the importance and necessity of practicing for at least 15 minutes a day using a metronome.
One of the greatest things from this experience is being able to play with people around the country. And Angela is fantastic. She's a great teacher. She's a great musician. And it was very exciting for me to be able to work with her and to play with people and to learn the recording process where everyone records in their own home and then Angela edits it all together into one finished product. That was very exciting to be a part of that. In terms of the ukulele, I play the U bass or the bass ukulele, and it's pretty much the same as an electric bass. The strings are the same, so it wasn't a big transition for me to transition from electric bass guitar to U bass. And I think my favorite song from the arrangements was Wade in the Water. And just playing African American spirituals, it's just been an honor for me to play that music that's been a part of our history for so long. And I think, it does say spiritual, it's spiritual music. And I do feel it's good to feel that spiritual connection to the history and the people. And that's been a great honor for me. So overall, it's been a great process for me, and looking forward to more projects like this in the future.
What I have learned from this experience. First of all, the importance of practice. And with that practice is the inevitability, in my case, of humility. Because I stumbled over and over, believe me. And so the necessity also of courage. And that was the cycle. Practice, humility, courage, over and over and over again. Stumbling, getting back up, stumbling, getting back up, getting better.
I learned so many great things in this ensemble project, but I'll try to narrow it down. One thing I really wanted to learn was tablature, which I did indeed learn and feel quite comfortable with using now. I knew how to read sheet music, but I did not know how tabs worked. I'd watch my son use them when he plays the guitar, so I wanted to be in on that skill. I learned a lot more about theory than I had ever learned in my life, though I could play or been exposed to a number of instruments along the way. I learned about the pentatonic scale and how African American spirituals are written on the pentatonic scale. I learned how that plays into building an arrangement for a song. I learned how to listen to parts of music when I heard it and then hear the whole song in its entirety. I learned how to be part of a group, a shared experience, to make a commitment and to stick with it because others are depending on you was important. I learned that practice, one must practice. I wasn't very disciplined at practice in the beginning, but I have become so. I've learned about timing because when playing with a group, you certainly must know how to count and how to play the music as it's written, so it's not just a mess. And I've learned that when you stick with a commitment and when you put yourself out there and you stretch out of that dang comfort zone, even though something's very hard and new, that the gift of personal growth is really quite astounding.
I would say one of the greatest things that I've learned about or through this experience is that you should always be open to trying something new. As I said before, I was intrigued by the notion of taking African American spirituals and reimagining them with the ukulele. I just thought that that was brilliant. The notion that I could be a part of something where we are continuing a legacy, creating a new way to remember these spirituals was really meaningful to me. And I definitely wanted to be a part of that. And so, yeah, I would say one of the greatest things that I've learned is that you should always be open to trying new things, taking a chance and seeing what's on the other side of potentially the fear of trying. Because I was a bit nervous about joining or being a part of an ensemble, especially because I'm so new to the ukulele, but it has been a rewarding experience.
I learned that the ukulele is capable of beautiful, transformative sound, just music that opens your heart and gives you a sense of wonder that can be that beautiful. So I'd say that the most outstanding thing is learning some tools to be able to practice and learn music and make music. A great thing about the experience of being in the ensemble is that Angela taught us the bones to music. She taught us the pentatonic scales and the thirds for the keys that her songs were in. She used those scales and thirds in the songs. And that was the first time I ever had a grasp of what music is made out of. Also, she gave us audio files to learn the songs. And so listening to those parts over and over and over and hearing the nuance of the music and attempting to create that on the ukulele was a great experience.
Some people have asked me, what's next? After these arrangements and this experience, what's next? And I tell them, I don't know, but I think it's more of the same and going deeper into the past. Going further into my study of Negro spirituals, looking at other elements of that history that made this music possible, as well as developing my own sense of what I would like to compose and bring to life in the world with the ukulele. There is a great future ahead with our community music education with ZAMI NOBLA, as I have integrated and will continue to integrate pieces like this into our ukulele curriculum.
Sing a song, Pepperoni. You gotta come in and sing a little bit. Let's hear her sing. Let's get these two sisters here together. Then we're gonna let everybody sing. Bones and pepperoni. Bones and pepperoni.
I captured the video you just saw when I was a teenager in Wichita, Kansas. It was from one of the times when my family gathered and we would sing and eat and just enjoy each other's company. And music in my family was like that. I grew up in this environment where every time we gathered, we had to sing. It was just a part of it. And that shaped my life in such a way that I was not even aware it would when I was a young person. Now I understand that that foundation and those songs, that music has really made me who I am today. The stone kept a rolling, stone kept a rolling. And when I think about Negro spirituals, I think about that same idea of people coming together and singing and celebrating and finding a way of making meaning in their lives. From the cotton field to the concert hall, we've seen these spirituals come to life. And I think if we just leave it with the idea of Leontine Price and Moses Hogan and Jesse Norman and all these wonderful singers, Kathleen Battle, and not think about the ordinariness, the functional ways in which this music provided a base for people, then we'll miss out on how, as we remember the music, we can reimagine how music can be for us that same thing, that way of gathering when we are families to sing, that way of finding new music even for those of us who are people of faith and are trying to find a way of connecting our theology with our lived experience. Remembering and reimagining brings that together for me. And when I see clips of my family singing, and when I think about and hear some of this incredible music, the genre of Negro spirituals, I just think about what it means for us today to know that music can infuse our lives in such a way that it quickens our spirit and that it makes us go on to see what the end's going to be, because we have something that pushes us, that leads us to attention, that calls us to be alert at what the day requires for this journey. This another day of journey, this new path, this new opportunity we have each day to seize life. I hope that you've enjoyed this program and these songs, because it's also a call for you to remember and reimagine wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever music that brings to life something that quickens your spirit and that gives you a way of thinking about being more than you thought you could ever be in the world. That you can reimagine in this place through the gift of music, a way of being all that you can be in this life. Another thing that I hope this experience will provide is the understanding that Negro spirituals are a wonderful thing to include in ukulele curriculum. They're built upon the major and minor pentatonic scale, the major C, D, E, G, A, and then back home to C. And the minor pentatonic scale in C, C, E flat, F, G, A, and then back home to C. So we have these incredible building blocks of the pentatonic scale, which are great things to introduce to new students as you're building melodies and bringing memory to fingertips. So it provides just a wonderful addition to curriculum, as well as a tool for us to understand and to remember the origins of the African American experience in this country?
I'm a retired law professor and civil rights attorney, and represented, in one case, the mothers of the church against a power structure that was attempting to wipe out their historic African American community. And the mothers of the church said that they would pray for me every day of their lives. So when Maggie, my good friend Maggie, told me about Angela's class and the African American Spirituals, I just was all in and talked to Angela. And even though I was a beginner, she accepted me because I had told her about the mothers of the church, and she said, I'm not going to do anything against the mothers of the church. So I was in as a real beginner. And so how important this work is, this work of playing the ukulele gives voice to the struggle of the present painful reality of racism, homophobia, ableism in our country. So in dedicating myself to these songs, I decided to dedicate the songs to everyone who struggles. Everyone who struggles. And we don't do it with guns or knives or violence, but with the unassuming, simple, apparently simple, mighty, beautiful ukulele that's able to give voice to that incredible history of pain, struggle, beauty, and hope.
When the advertisement come out about the ensemble auditions, I was very interested but very terrified. The word audition had never been something that went well in my life when it came to showing what you potentially could do. But Angela was so encouraging and so supportive, and I did sign up and I did show up for the audition, and yay, I got in. But we were on much more challenging ground at that point, and I began to learn much deeper theory. I was presented with things I needed to practice much more. I had to basically get over the fact that it was going to be and was frustrating and quite humbling at times. But the African American spiritual arrangements that Angela wrote and provided to us, were so beautiful. They're so beautiful. But her knowledge and her expertise and her encouragement and her corrections, not to mention the support of each and every one of my ensemble mates as we walked this journey together, have been invaluable to me. I've put in a lot of practice, and I feel like I've been able to see the change between last October, so for about a year, a little less than a year, in a way that is really important to me. I truly, truly love playing the ukulele, more than any other instrument I've played in my life. I've learned along the way that I had a pretty limited view of what the ukulele could do, what kind of music you played. But the variety of sounds, the techniques, the different genres of music that you can play with it, it truly inspires, and honestly, I think it's rather limitless.
The ukulele. What kind of instrument is it for not only musical expression, but for expression? Well, I am blessed to have 2 ukuleles. The first, this is show and tell, is Makala. My Makala ukulele, purchased by my spouse as a birthday present. And Makala is from downtown Cocoa Beach, which is the land of flip-flops. She is mellow as can be. She is laid back. She is of the shore, of the sand, and I love her. Then, my second ukulele is the Ohana. The Ohana ukulele, this was one of Angela's ukuleles that my spouse acquired for me for another birthday. Well, just the most recent one. And she is not laid back. She is like a mighty river, coursing through with her mighty surge and her eddies and her swirling water. And I had to hold on. And this is all part of the humility of playing this beautiful musical instrument. So there was conversations going back and forth between me and these ukuleles.